Hey guys, Sandra here, and I'm getting ready to make supper. So what I'm making is raise the roof sweet potato lasagna, and that's an Engine 2 diet recipe. So that's the book I'm making it from, and that's the recipe. But don't worry, I'm going to link the recipe below in the description so that you guys can follow along. So I'll just show you the ingredients. So I have 1 whole onion. I have a small head of garlic, which I will press. I got a head of broccoli all chopped up. I have 2 carrots chopped up. It calls for 2 red bell peppers. I've got 1 red and 1 orange chopped up. It calls for a can of corn, so I just used frozen. It also calls for a block of tofu, so that's my block, and what I did was I sliced it thinly, because you're supposed to press the water out of it. So I sliced it thinly, and then I wrapped it in paper towels and tried to get all the water out that I could. And then here are the spices. So it's a half a teaspoon of cayenne, 1 teaspoon of oregano, 1 teaspoon of basil, 1 teaspoon of rosemary. It calls for 2 jars of tomato sauce, so I've got my Trader Joe's no salt marinara sauce. Let's see here. It also calls for 2 boxes of whole grain lasagna noodles. And instead of lasagna noodles, I'm using a zucchini. And then I'll just slice it on my mandolin slicer. It also calls for 2 sweet potatoes cooked and mashed, which I'm going to do just now. And then 6 Roma tomatoes for on top, which I don't use Roma, so I just got some tomatoes to put on top. And then optional is 1 cup of raw cashews ground up for the top. So I'll show you as I... So in the back here I have my sweet potatoes starting. And in the front here I've got my onions and my garlic crushed up. And I'm just sauteing these on high heat for 3 minutes, and then I'll add the mushrooms and cook them until the onions are limp and the mushrooms give up their liquid. Okay, I've added the mushrooms and they're starting to give off their liquid, and you want to catch them. You want to remove them from the pan, the whole thing, after they've given up their liquid, but before they start taking it up again, because they will start absorbing it again. So, and I'm still cooking on high heat. Okay, so I've moved them to a separate bowl now, and I'm starting to cook the carrots and broccoli in the leftover mushroom juice. And you cook these for 5 minutes, and then you put them in the same bowl as the mushrooms and the onions. Okay, so the carrots and broccoli have been moved over, and now I'm just cooking the corn and the peppers, and you cook them just until the peppers start to soften. While the corn and the peppers are cooking, I'm going to just mash up my tofu, so get it nice and crumbly. Okay, so this is the tofu after I've mashed it. I used to do it by hand, but I just found that to be really, really hard work, and I would get achy hands. So this is the method I came up with, and it works really, really well. So over here, my corn and peppers are all done. Everything else is over there. My potatoes are done, so I'm just going to mash them now. Alright, so at this point, we just mix everything into our bowl. So there's the carrots, broccoli, onion, mushrooms, and garlic. And then there's the corn and the peppers going in. And I'll just finish that by hand. And then you just put your spices in and mix everything up. Okay, so here's everything all mixed up. It's a big bowl. And this is like the meat of the lasagna. Now, I just wanted to mention 2 things about the sweet potato. The first one is that the recipe didn't specify whether to peel it or not peel it. So if it doesn't specify, I'm always going to leave the peel on just for the extra nutrition. And the second thing is Dr. Greger had a new video on recently on his nutritionfacts.org website about sweet potatoes and what's the best way to cook them to retain all the nutrients. And the best method, believe it or not, is to boil them. So that's why I boiled them, and that's how I'm going to do it from now on. So next thing is to slice the zucchinis. So I've got some ready to go here. This is my mandolin slicer, and I'll just show you how I do it. I just bring it down like that, and it takes off a slice. And you do have to be very, very careful. This blade is so sharp. So I'm going to just slice the rest of them without the camera. Okay, so we're going to assemble now. So the first thing it says is to put down a layer of sauce. Then we add the noodles, and if you're using lasagna noodles, actual lasagna noodles, you just put them right in dry. And the sauce will help them cook. Okay, and we'll just continue like this until it's all covered. Okay, so there's the noodles. Then you cover it again with sauce, which I'm just going to drizzle it on. Okay. And now you add in your vegetable mixture. And you put the whole thing in there. That's one whole layer, just vegetables. And I'll just show you when that's done. Okay, so the vegetable mixture is down, and I just kind of patted it down a little further with the back side of this, just so that I can fit everything on here. Then you do another layer of noodles and another layer of sauce on top of that. And then you cover so the next layer is going to be spinach. And you use a pound of frozen spinach. So I have this, it's a little over a pound, but it'll fit no problem. So I took the spinach out of the bag and put it in my salad spinner just to see if that would work. And lo and behold, it worked very well. All the liquid in there that I got out. So I'll just put this on. So that's what that looks like. And now I add on top of that my mashed sweet potatoes. Then another layer of noodles and another layer of sauce. So, alright, we're back again. And you can see the sweet potato here has been put on top. And then I've got the next layer of noodles on there. Okay, and then I'll just put a little sauce on there and take a look and see what's next. Okay, so I put my layer of sauce down, and then the next part was to put on your tomato slices, thinly sliced tomatoes. And you can't do those in a mandolin slicer, it just would make a mess, so I just thinly sliced them with a knife. Then you cover it with foil and bake in a 400-degree oven for 45 minutes. And I just thought I'd show you which tofu. I get an organic tofu, that way you're not getting GMOs. And then I used 4.5 zucchinis for the noodles, and I think 4 tomatoes, but they're regular tomatoes, regular like hothouse type or on the vine tomatoes. If you're using Roma, you probably would need the 6 of them. And then the other thing I wanted to mention was that with the sauce, it calls for 2 jars of sauce, but I think I used less than 1, and that's just because of experience. Having done this a few times now, I noticed that it comes out really watery, so this time I'm trying with a lot less sauce and just see how it turns out. So we'll see when it's all done. So the recipe calls for a cup of cashews ground up and then put on the top, and you put that in. So you cook the original recipe says you cook it for 45 minutes in your 400-degree oven, I think, and then you bring it out, you put on your crumbled cashews on top, and then you cook it for another 15 minutes without the lid on it, just to get them nice and toasted up. And if you're going to make this recipe for a holiday or for guests, I would definitely put it on. Go wild. We want to make it apparent that vegan foods are not just twigs and berries. That they taste wonderful, there's a ton of flavor, and that there's also a ton of variety. Bring it out in maybe 10 minutes and sprinkle just a few of these on. I'm not going to use a cup. And then I'll toast that for another 10 minutes. Alright guys, so here it is all done now. I ended up putting a 1/4 cup of the cashews on half of it. So I'll show you a picture when it's all done. Okay, so here's the final thing. That's the lasagna there. And then I've just got some steamed veggies on the side here. And so what I did was I ended up using a 1/4 cup of the crushed cashews on 1/2 of my lasagna. And then I toasted that up, and in the very end I just put it on broiler just to actually brown the nuts up a bit. But this is going to be plate number 1, and we'll go from there. I just wanted to show you guys here. See, it always turns out liquidy. I had considered on this one putting in some tomato paste, and I guess I should have. So you might want to think about that if you're going to try it. Anyway, so that's it.